Fancy, huh? Good morning, everyone. It gives me great pleasure to see you. It's a special day today, and we'll make it a meaningful one. On the way here, I have a lot of things in my mind that I want to share, and by now, there's also a good amount of caffeine and cream cheese on top of them. So this will be interesting. When I'm a little confused, I do something very simple. I call my daughter, a freshman in college, to say good morning. I did it. I woke her up. She will never forgive me again, but I think we'll find a way forward. That gives me a unique vantage point of pretty much covering every stage of the life cycle of an artist, from a student to a faculty, to an administrator, and a parent with a kid in college. We are able to retain stories much better than facts, and as Javier said, this is actually the poster that brought me to school. I flew all the way from the other side of the Atlantic to meet my program chair, Marshall Arisman. I saw this poster on the way to his office to show him slides. So that happened many, many years ago. A poster told me, why be good when you can be great? And I was hooked. I came to school in general without any practice, but I developed it here. You see my drawing. I did academic drawing and painting in Athens, all the way to Jerusalem, and then in New York City. That taught me pretty much everything I know. This is the first piece that I had published in the New York Times, is a part of my thesis project for my MFA. I spent 2 years as the creative director at Marvel Comics promotional department, and that included from the design of the stationery for Marvel all the way to special projects, incentives, and collectibles. And then I went into a career of editorial illustration, spanning from covers for newspapers, magazines, books here and in Europe, licensing, a graphic novel, snowboards, skateboards, work for bands, posters, that is what I mainly do now. And this is actually my first poster for the School of Visual Arts. A poster brought me here, and I get to be in the position to make posters. The person in the photograph happens to be my mother, who happened to be in New York City. She must have spent days in the subway telling everyone that this is my work. I also am involved in key art for big cultural festivals like Photoville, and public art, like that piece in the National Gallery and Library of Greece in Athens. I'm also involved with an extensive set of exhibitions in galleries and museums, and that brings us to the point where I say, enough about me, let's speak about you. If I can just for once use the F word, faculty. This is what makes this place tick. People like Alitha Martinez, Yuko Shimizu, Anthony McBain and Roxy, Daxalati, that just got the Caldecott Award. Tomer Hanuka, Jensen, Autumn, Idel Rodriguez, Dan, Nick Bertozzi, Steve Savage, Lisk Feng, Chris McGrath, some more of my handiwork, Steve Brodner, Zohar, Travis Louie, Peter, Sam Weber. As you see, our faculty spans many styles, categories, and specialties, from children's books all the way to utopian book covers. We have about 140 faculty, all of them award-winning. We're in a great position to offer even our most technical class from award-winning artists. Here is is a short list of some of our new classes to show you a little bit about the ongoing development that is happening, holding the pulse of the industry, but also the needs that our students are exhibiting, and then us pushing to create more and more sections and small tracks to cover more of those disciplines. Murals by Josh Cochran. This is our first class in the mural course. Comic book covers by Torrin Clark. Specific class on those covers. Vector-based illustration by Ed Dubiera. The Extraordinary Picture Book with Eugenia Mello. Storyboarding 1 with Ignacio Serrano. Storyboarding 2 with Grant Schaefer. Principles of Cartooning with Jamal Eigel. Toy Design with Space Rabbit. Toy Production with Jason Freeney. Advanced Drawing with Jonathan Twingley. Intro to Character Development with Shin. And Advanced Character Design with Ty Lee. We will be hosting the biggest conference on character design, Pictoplasma, straight from Berlin, in a week from now, exactly in this room. So we're very excited. Webcomics with Evan Dump. Principles of Comics. Amy Chu. Comics Writing. This extends into our humanities and art history departments, with whom we have great collaborations, and we're populating continuously with classes that would be really interesting, but also very targeted for our students. And writing is such a big interest, especially for comics. Mark Newgarden with his class about comics. Samantha Johns, comic scripting, and the team. I have the privilege to be working with the best administrators I could ever wish for, and I can securely saying this while we're toiling year after year to meet dreams and expectations as we develop constantly. Recognition, it's too many awards to speak about, including the top award at the Society of Illustrators competition this year. and our alumni. Some of them you saw in the video, like James Jean, but definitely you've seen everybody else's work up here. We're bombarding you with amazing imagery because we can. It's what we do, and it's what we look for while you study here. When you graduate and when you come back, we're never strangers, and we have the privilege of having some of these great alumni coming back and teaching for us. Here's the class of 2023, some of the work that was produced last year that was featured in the exhibition. These are some of our efforts to connect seniors with industry. It's a very big focus of ours. We cultivate relationships, and we deliver from our senior show in one of the 4 amazing galleries that we have in Chelsea. Our MoCA hosting, all of their scheduling and programming is hosted in our amphitheaters, and our special exhibition while MoCA is happening. Our big industry day, where we book the Metropolitan Pavilion, the prime space for this in the city, and invite hundreds of industry to come and see our seniors' portfolios. We have our senior web registry that we promote. We got our ILO and comics publication that you have in your hands. Our career development office, with whom we collaborate, and industry projects that we're constantly in the middle of. Plus, a lot of faculty that composes the SVA universe. These are all people that will take your call and answer your email. This was this year's animation Walt Disney Outreach Division. They came to school to talk to us specifically about their pipeline. This is our comics exhibition during MoCA happening. We're having a workshop with Pixar in the next 2 weekends. They came to us and suggested that illustrators and comics artists would be perfect for them to try their narrative workshop. There are more things happening that I know, and this is where an amazing team comes in to coordinate and initiate. Our curriculum is some of the stuff that Matthew mentioned. We have 120 credit schedule, out of them 15 in history of art and 30 in humanities. First year is pretty much a lot of rigorous fine art training. For the first time, we have intro to comics for the comics kids, and also from this year, we will have printmaking for illustrators. Second year has our core classes, principles of illustration and principles of comics, but also special class in storytelling and painting for illustrators, along with our electives, humanities and art history. Our third year courses are all gravitating towards our core class, pictorial projects, along with technical electives, digital and traditional. And our fourth year is mostly concentrated on our senior project. That is the edge of the sword in your portfolio once you're getting out. That will show your specificity in the targeted industries, so we can provide you with everything you need to get on your way for a successful career. I will go through our facilities, even though some of them were mentioned before, all the way from our classrooms that you will see today in the tour, our comics and illustration lab that is becoming a completely different thing as we're adding equipment as we speak, our senior studios for comics and also for illustrators, our print shop. We have one of the best print shops in the city, so from this year on, illustration is becoming a major part of our print shops. Our visual arts library west and east, so we're covering both parts of the campus for to hold events, but also books. Our extensive galleries, it's not only our 4 locations, but there are subcategories within these locations that hold many, many exhibitions at the same time. Our guest speakers from Nicolas Grenell, one of the biggest graphic novel agents in the far top corner, all the way to Neil Gaiman and Art Spiegelman. These are the kind of people that come to the school. These are the kind of people that we're in touch with, that we're in contact with. Student clubs, an endless amount of student clubs that it's still evolving even as we speak, because new ideas are coming in. Cartoon Allies, our very own comics club with a big, big footprint, of course, from MoCA all the way to SPX this year, and our publication Inc. And at this point, I will finally give you something useful I called free art advice. Please take it with you anywhere you go. It's some of the things that made me who I am, because sometimes I do listen. Draw like your life depends on it. It does. Art is based on productivity. Everything else is a hobby. We are what we make, so make it good. Inspiration is for amateurs. We make sparks on demand. Finish what you start. This will make you very special. Hard truths are tough to find. Appreciate those who dare say them and see what you can use. You learn best from teachers you love and teachers you hate. We have plenty of both. Be jealous of great work and do something about it. Envy is a powerful motivator. Invest in your relationship at school. These are your first meaningful connections to our industry. Use your devices, not the other way around. Technology is a tool, you are not. Create more than you consume. We're content providers, not consumers. If you're not early, you're late. Be punctual in everything you do. This is a deadline-oriented business. It's never about talent, it's about choices. Talent is nice, but not enough. Be good to yourselves, eat healthy, be active, keep safe. Your mothers made me say this. Thank you. From our departments, we have an amazing panel that will take all of your questions. I will certainly be available to answer them. I will be here at the lobby while you're having lunch, and I will be with you at the tours of our facilities. Thank you very much for your attention. It's great to see you.
Hello.
Hi, everyone. My name is Kelsey Short. I'm the illustration coordinator for the BFA Illustration and BFA Comics department. We have 4 very lovely current students on stage right now who are here to answer your questions and talk about their experience at SVA. You want to start with introductions?
Sure. Hi, I'm Sid. I'm a senior in our comics department. My pronouns are she, her. I'm looking forward to hearing your questions.
Hi.
Oh, sorry. I'm also I'm also president of SVA Horror Society, since we were talking about clubs, and together with a person who will introduce himself, we are editors of our student comics publication, Inc. magazine. Yeah.
Yes, let me name myself real quick. Hi, I'm Adam Jones, also a senior comics student here at SVA. Pronouns are he, him. I'm the treasurer for our school's Comics and Conventions Club, Cartoon Allies, which I've been a part of for all 4 years that I've been here. And like Sid, I'm a senior editor of Inc. magazine.
Hello, I'm Dakshita, but you can also call me Ducky. I'm an international student here at SVA, and I'm actually in my junior year. And I'm actually the president of VASA, the Visual Arts Student Association, the student government here at SVA. So nice to meet you all. My pronouns are she, her.
Well, I'm Jasmine. What should I call it? I am the vice president of VASA in the Student Association here at SVA. I'm a junior honors illustration major and also just love being at SVA.
So we have a very diverse group up here as far as club memberships, student involvement. What did you guys want to talk about Cartoon Allies and Ink magazine just for a little bit?
Sure, yeah. You want to start or should I?
You can start.
Yeah, okay. So, when I was accepted Student Stay all the way back in 2019, goodness, one of the things that really brought me here was like all the clubs at the school, just seeing that there were so many of them, that people were so passionate about them. It was really, really inspired me. That was one of the big things. So Cartoon Allies is the school's biggest and oldest club. It's the Comics and Conventions Club, as I said. So we meet like every Friday night in the department building for the comics program. And we just, every week we have a different like themed activity. Usually we start the year off with like, let's say a gallery night where everyone can show their work and you leave little comments. We also have regular guest speakers. Just yesterday we had Alex Crocus come in and give a presentation for us. He's also an animation professor here at the school. So that was really, really nice. We also table at various conventions. Like every September, we go to Small Press Expo in Maryland. And then every kind of March, April-ish, we go to Mocha Arts Fest here in Manhattan. We also have some in-house conventions, like we have a holiday bazaar that Cartoon Allies attends. And Fresh Meat is our end-of-the-year kind of comics exposition in the school. So a lot of opportunities to show off your work, to sell your work, a lot of opportunities to meet people, to engage in comics-related activities, to get information from professionals, all the things you can do just all around the school. Maybe you can talk about Ink Magazine.
Yeah, I'll talk about Allies a little bit too. I was also an Allies officer. I had to leave it behind because I had to pick my favorite child, which is Horsey. But I highly encourage going to Allies, especially in your freshman year. It's really great that you now have a comics course during your freshman year, but when we were freshmen, we did not. And so going to Allies was the best way to meet like-minded people in your major, but also anybody who's interested in comics. And I know personally I've met like some of my best friends that I am like already starting on projects outside of school with at Allies. So I highly encourage going to Allies and being involved with school events and school extracurricular things in general. Especially because I think, as art students, we tend to be a little more introverted, and it's a little hard to make friends, especially when you're in a big new city. Oh, by the way, I'm also an international student, technically. I'm from Canada. So so when you're in a new environment, it's really scary and you don't know anybody. It's super scary, but these events that like Allies throws, if you're interested in watching an exterior movie with Horror Society or anything like that, it's a great way to meet people. So Ink Magazine, specifically, technically not, well, it's not the same as Cartoon, but anyways, is our student-run, student-published, student-edited comics magazine. Anyone, any major can submit to it, but it is comics. And yeah, I don't know. While you're on your tour today, you might see our posters calling for submissions for our fall issue. We do 2 issues a year, 1 in each semester. And yeah, we have a team of editors, 2 sophomore editors, 2 junior editors, and 2 senior editors. And you stay with us, hopefully, while you go out in years if you join us as a sophomore. And you learn all kinds of skills about what it's like to publish comics in the real world, what it's like to print things, what it's like to format files, what it's like to edit your peers' work. So another thing I highly recommend looking into, there might be some issues lying around in various boxes.
We have a lot of them.
there should be on like benches and stuff, like with the Illo Comics thing you got. Sometimes there'll be like a pile of those and like a pile of Ink Magazine. If you see issues of Ink Magazine lying around, I highly encourage you to pick them up and flip through them, because it's just such an excellent showcase of what your peers are making, and it's so cool. Yeah.
Every issue also has an interview with
That's
prominent
true.
cartoonists. Last issue, we had an interview with Alison Bechdel.
We still don't know how we got that, but we do have more insane interviews lined up for this year. So please look forward to it. Please come and then pick up an issue of Ink Magazine and then submit to Ink Magazine.
Also, because I forgot to say this, just really quick, Cartoon Allies is also open to all majors.
Yes.
So, you know.
Yeah.
Daki and Jasmine, do you want to talk about student government and your work with that?
Oh yeah, sure. Do you want to go first? Okay. So being part of the student government is so much work. Like, I barely have time to myself. Let me start there. But the things that we've been doing behind the scenes for all of our students, and it's been really, really great. Like, just like last Saturday, we went to Fright Fest. Well, Six Flags on discounted tickets available to like all students. Well, limited seats, but you get what I mean.
It was awesome.
It was so cool, and a lot of people, like, you know, we like, what's it called? We hired a bus.
Oh yeah,
We took everyone there and we brought them all back, and it was a really safe trip, and you could go anywhere, and it was all paid for by us. It was a really fun trip. But our upcoming event is like a Halloween party, which is one of our biggest events here at SVA.
hosted at Dave & Buster's.
And Dave & Buster's, and like about like 700 people attend every year. So it's really quite big and something to look forward to, especially when you come to the school. But other than that, like as student government, we don't just host events, we also like advocate for students. So, you know, if there's something that you need, we are like the go-to resource. Like, you'll come to us like, hey, I'm not sure about this, can you help me out? And then we'll likely like get back to you. So it's like being part of the student government, you get to see a lot of behind the scenes of what the school does for you guys, and I think that's really cool.
Yes. And to continue on, yes, I feel like with SVA in particular, it's like when it comes to student government, we provide so many different services and support to not only our clubs, but we also have so many different events and activities to get to know just not only people in your major, but outside of your major that isn't really afforded in other schools. And for me, I met some of my closest friends through some of the VASA events, whether that be the Halloween party or just little support, like sometimes it'll be like VASA Fest, where like during, maybe like during final, stuff like that, we support students in, just giving them a little coffee or donuts throughout their finals events. Or even hosting events like Holiday or Spring Bazaar, where we let people actually get to table for free at SVA and sell so many types of items and stuff like that. And that's one of my first experiences of like sort of a con sort of environment that I was able to have with SVA. And I think VASA just really helps students flourish and get to know the student body.
I want to talk a little bit more about the Holiday Bazaar, because I think it'd be something like a lot of students would be interested in. So like we have two bazaars. We have a spring market and a Holiday Bazaar. Both are kind of like an expo style. You know, you can table, you can sell things. And Jasmine, do you want to talk about how much you sold?
Oh, okay. So like, I was as a freshman, like, you know what? I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it for the Spring Bazaar. And like, I put everything together like maybe a week before. And in 3 hours, I sold over like $350 to $400 worth of prints. And I'm like, it's only 3 different size prints, 11 by 17, 8.5 by 11, and then like postcards. People were eating it up. And I was in the back too, like, it's like a lot of people circulate in those 3 hours, and there's 2 parts to the event. So like a 2-day event for each. And it was a really good opportunity because I met so many cool people in my department, got to trade posters and stuff like that, and just had my art out there. And it made me a lot more confident to where the very summer after I made my portfolio site, because like, wow, if I could put my art out there in a smaller sense, maybe I should go more so. So that was some of my experience with the Holiday and Spring Bazaar.
Yeah, and people sell like not just like art prints, they sell like zines, they sell jewelry, you know, ceramic stuff, and in like crocheting. It's really cool. There's like a huge variety of things. So
Yeah, so like if you really want to express yourself in that sort of way, that's the opportunity to do so. And like people support you, and I like that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, I think we'll leave it open to questions, if any of you have some.
All right.
Hi everyone. So my name is Nisha Chowdhury and I'm the Assistant Director for Grad Admissions. So my coworker will be joining us on that side, but for the time being, I have the mic. So you can just, okay, they're there. So we're gonna switch it. We're gonna go from this side to that side and bounce it back. And whoever has a question, they can just raise their hand. Okay, starting here.
Hi. Oh wow. Hi. My name's Aiden. Yeah, I'm kind of nervous. So okay. Can you join multiple clubs? Like if I wanted to join like Comic Allies and then the horror club, is that allowed or?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I mean, I think a lot of clubs. I don't think there is a single club that's like you have to come to every meeting. You have to. Most, if not all, clubs at SVA are like we post our meetings on our social media and on Discord servers ahead of time, so that people, if they're interested, can say, "Oh, I might want to go to that." Because again, they touched on it. Like you're really busy as a student, like as a student leader, especially. But as an average student at SVA, yeah, it's a lot of work. It's rewarding, but it is a lot of work. So you do have to like kind of pick and choose how you want to spend your time. And in my opinion, club activities are a great way to spend your time. However, yeah, you can show up to whatever meeting you want. That's definitely our policy at Horror Society. And they'll be on different like days of the week. So, for example, Horror Society, we're every Thursday nights at 8 p.m. And Cartoon Allies is every Friday night at 6:30 p.m.
Yep.
Right? So you can and should go to both.
All right,
Yes.
Thank you.
You could like collect them like Pokemon. Just like go to you could just go to, let's say, Black Student Union one day, or I want to go to Fiber Arts and randomly make a doll, stuff like that. You could just do whatever you want whenever, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and another thing I want to say is that VAS actually helps manage like all of the clubs. Currently, we have like about 37 clubs, which is quite a lot, and you can go to like any like event for clubs. Like it doesn't matter. Like you see something, you're like, oh my god, that looks so cool. I want to go. You can just go. You can just show up, and they don't like ask you to like officially like sign up. Maybe you can be in their newsletter, but it's not like they're like, oh, you're not a member, you can't come. It's not like that. You can just show up, and they'll be very happy, and they're very cool. So yeah, you can join any club you want.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, I'm gonna try to word this question like as well as I can. I'm Evelina. Oh, I have to stand up. Why? Okay. So, hi. My question was shoot.
Take your time.
Okay. Personally, if you can remember, what you believe to be the best piece in your portfolio when you were applying to SVA?
That's a really good question.
Where Adam and myself, our first year was 2019.
Yeah.
And we took a gap year during COVID. So this is going
It's
back
been
to
a
the
little while.
archives.
Let me think.
I think for comics, it's definitely like a major where you're encouraged to like come in where you are and grow while you're here. And so I don't know. I can't even remember.
Well, I don't know if I could say what the best piece in my portfolio was, but I could tell you in general my portfolio was like really diverse.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
I
as
ha-
many- yeah, as
yeah,
many
I
things
had
as
like a
possible.
still life in there. I had some sketchbook pages just of like, various doodles and character studies because it's cool to just see what you do outside of school. I had digital art. I had pencil art, ink art. I think I had like a charcoal in there or something. So it's just good to like cover your bases, have observational work, and have comics, especially if you're comics, you're going to want to have comics in your portfolio.
Yeah, I thought of a thing to say. Definitely a really varied portfolio is great. I'm sure you guys are applying to other schools as well, and I know a lot of other schools like have more like regimented, like we want you to draw this, and some of those are good exercises. And if you're happy with those, you should put those in your SVA portfolio too. But what I wanted to say is definitely not even like just for your portfolio, just like advice as an artist is do life drawing. Draw from life, draw from models, do studies, draw what you actually see, what you think you see, practice your observational skills, and you should put that in your portfolio too. But just good advice in general.
Yeah. Oh, and for me, like my sort of like, I guess, best portfolio piece, so I remember, it was definitely something that had like multiple styles. If I remember correctly, I still like included because I like it. It's like, it was like a hyper-realistic head with cartoonish octopus arms coming out of the head with a bunch of dirty dishes suspended in the air. It was something like that. So like honestly, some of my best pieces is like things that are personal, because I had like a whole bunch of personal themes within it about like my family life and all that sort of stuff. But it's just sort of like, oh no, best piece, varied in style and something that feels like you.
Yeah. Thank you for this question. I was actually thinking a lot about this like right now, and I realized that the pieces that I thought were the best in my portfolio were the pieces that I had made for like, to bring up certain issues, right? Like the world is not perfect and there's like a lot of issues, like, and I'm an international student, so I wanted something that tied, that culture to the issues that were happening, and those were my best pieces because it really made me feel like, wow, I care so much about this that I'm able to make a piece that directly corresponds to it. So yeah, I think those were my best pieces.
Definitely whatever you're passionate about, because in any art, whatever you make, when you're doing it for hello? Okay. Anyways, whenever you're passionate about something, it shines through. When you're kind of like doing it for someone else, you can tell. So for your portfolio, definitely pieces on like things that really matter to you.
Yeah, and this last thing to add, write those art statements, because it's like, it really shows like why this matters. And then by showing somebody, it's like, wow, they really thought a lot about this. So yeah.
Thank you for the amazing feedback. Something else I would like to add is that you should definitely reach out to admissions, because our counselors are the ones who are reviewing your applications and portfolios. They have great advice. You can schedule appointments with them, so just email admissions@sva.edu. You can also find counselor information on sva.edu. Okay, question from this side.
Hi, my name is Jasmine, actually. My question was for the Jasmine on the stage. And you mentioned that you were an honors in illustration.
Yeah.
And I was wondering if you could just like give more
more information
about like your experiences and like both illustration and the honors program.
Of course. I was actually thinking about this very question. Thank you so much, Jasmine. And for me, I wouldn't say the honors program is just for people who are good at academics or want academic rigor. I think it's more so, it's like it helps you on like a mental level to better engage with art. There's so many different art courses in the honors program that I was able to take my freshman year and related to art theory and philosophy, sociology, I learned about, like genocides and all this different history stuff that I feel like I wanted to learn more about like in high school, but I wasn't able to. And I'm just like a really curious person. And the thing that honors program gave me the most was every single class, there was like a big discussion. Like everyone was popping ideas off of each other. It's like, oh, I actually thought about this about the text. Or like, you know what? I actually don't think like this is sort of experience is like real in real life. I think a lot of people think this way. It's like, if you think a lot about stuff, if like you sort of have like a lot to say about the world, I think the honors program is good because it's not just sort of like a regular humanity and related to, let's say, European history, but we're talking about global stuff. Stuff about learning about different cultures, like Yoruba culture, and all the stuff related to, like, for me, I'm Caribbean, and actually seeing that in the curriculum, it it made the world to me. So I feel like if you want more of a nuanced experience, take the honors program, because plus that, and you get a junior year trip where you go somewhere around the world like Turkey or Mexico City.
Jasmine, do you want to tell them where you're going this year? Next year?
Oh yeah. No, this spring I'm going. Well, I actually wanted to go to Mexico City and see some Mayan ruins, so that's what I'm doing. And it's gonna be a week-long trip. I'm gonna have like, I don't know, 15, 20 of my classmates with me. All expenses paid. All you gotta do is pay for like your lunch, but like breakfast and dinner is covered, hotel is covered, plane is covered. So that's a cool part of the honors program that I think I should mention.
And then the illustration, sorry.
Oh, and then, sorry. All right. Oh, my personal experience with the illustration department?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. For me, for the illustration department, I would say my freshman year, I mainly had sort of foundationals, which got me a bit more familiar with, just drawing in general, drawing, sculpture, stuff like that. I did like woodworking, and I really liked it. But where illustration shines is second year and onward. And for me, for the illustration department, I got a lot of very supportive teachers. Like in my high school, like I had supportive teachers related to academics, but nobody was really seeing me as the artist I was. And both with the professors and the students, it felt right. It's like like when I was excited, they were excited. They would sort of like push me in the sense of telling me what my strengths are. Like, I really like how you render this character that like we're doing, let's say a character design assignment, right? Or they're also telling me about my weaknesses or in like how to improve them. And that each week is like, we would just sort of like they would walk with me. And I feel like a professor having patience with someone, especially let's say like me, if I'm struggling to do work, is like, the illustration department is that. And also the students give really good crit as well. So like in the illustration department, for example, we'll put all our progress for like the sketches or a finished piece, and then we'll all go around, talk about it, what we liked, what can be improved of. Oh, what's the interpretations of it? We look at it from afar, from up close. Yeah, stuff like that. And for my junior year, basically the same too, but just more specific classes, like I'm doing digital art, and I'm actually being able to use Photoshop and Blender as an illustrator, which is I wouldn't be able to do at Parsons.
Thank you.
No problem.
We can take questions from parents too, if you have it.
Hello, I'm Ailish, and I noticed when like you guys entered, you have like these beautiful pieces behind you. I know you talked a lot about portfolio and how you got into SVA, but do you mind explaining the pieces that are behind you, and especially for Sid and Adam, like the story behind your comic?
Sure. So these are excerpts. Is my mic working? I'm sorry. From our. Oh, I'm getting. I think I'm. From our junior projects. So we have our senior thesis, which we are working on now. But in our junior year, you have a big project too, like Victor mentioned. And historically, and I think it was in our work too, we did an adaptation. So what that means, you can kind of go crazy with it. So I chose to do an adaptation of a very, very, very short story that is like about a paragraph long that I remember like reading as a kid and stuck with me my entire life. But I kind of did it a weird way because I took someone else's words and made it an autobio comic, because in my work outside of school, I do a lot of autobio comics. And Adam, do you want to talk about yours?
Yeah. So one of the caveats of the assignment, at least when we had it, was should be a book that hasn't really been adapted visually before, or at least not in like a huge scale adaptation, So I did an adaptation of one of the Discworld books, Mort, by Terry Pratchett, And so it's a 6-page long comic assignment, and I don't know, maybe one of you could cram like 200 pages of book into 6 pages of comics, but I can't. So I did one scene from the book. And it was honestly a really engaging assignment. It really pushed me to do things with comics I haven't really done before, and I'm pretty proud of it.
I just realized I'd never seen your
Look behind you.
I know. Well, you have to show me the whole thing later.
Yeah, I'll show you the whole thing later. Oh, and I can literally show you it because as part of the junior assignment, you print your finished work into like a little booklet, so you make a cover for it and everything. It's really, really nice exercise.
Yeah, so because we're juniors, we're actually doing this right now. And for illustrations, it's kind of similar. The comics majors make a comic, and for illustration majors, well, we also read a book and we make illustrations from the book. Because we're in junior year, we don't have that yet. So they reached out to us and they're like, oh my gosh, give us pieces that, you're proud of. And I sent them, like, one of the ones I sent was this one. And this means a lot to me because that's my younger sister, and I think she's really beautiful, and I've never really drawn her before, and I would say that she's probably the most important person in the world to me. So there's no like deep meaning behind it except for the love I have for my sister, and I think her hair is so gorgeous, so I just wanted to draw her like that. So yeah, that's my story.
Cool beans. And for me, behind me is actually sort of commission, and maybe a few of you have it in your hands or bags, like today, as that was my illustration that I did for the VASA info card. And for like VASA, like we all did our own individual illustrations for our informational card, and I thought it was a really cool opportunity to do so. But overall, with my art, I feel like it's usually very visually loaded. I have like a lot of color variations, a lot of like stylized chunks. And I believe I call this Winter Uncut. It's just literally a stream of consciousness of what I think about winter. Like in some of the pieces, like if you look closely, I guess it's like little paper snowflakes. It shows you how to make the paper snowflake if you follow the eye through it. And those were the things I used to make in middle school. So stuff like that is sort of just connected back into my work.
Yeah, you'll find my illustrations out there at the VASA table also. All four of our members actually made, and our theme was seasons, and mine was summer, and Jasmine's was winter. So yeah, if you have a chance, take a look, maybe even grab some if you want.
Collect them all.
Yes, collect them all.
Or maybe not, we'll see. Yeah.
Okay, we have a question from our online audience. It's 2 in 1, actually. When it comes to character design and such, how do students often find inspirations and ideas? What are some mistakes people make when first delving into creating characters?
I think I can take that one because, like, despite the picture I've put up there, I'm actually aiming to be a concept artist in the video game industry. Though I'm focusing on environment, some of the advice that my professors have given me is to, I think this goes for environments too, like combine two things that are like very interesting. Like, let's say for environments, I saw someone like combining like ships, like actual like ship design, and they made them into houses and then added an incense burner to it, and then that was a house apparently. And wow, I'm like, that's so cool. So I think for character design, I'm not very good at characters, let's start there, but I enjoy making them. And I guess some of the things where you can go wrong is to make your character design boring in a way. To add like a personality to a character, you have to add things that make themselves. Like a character, maybe they don't take care of themselves. They'll have, torn shirt, dirty shirt. Maybe their socks will be like half off. It shows character. It shows personality. And when you're looking at a character design critically, you have to think about their lifestyle, because the best character designs in video games, animations come from that. Like if you talk about like Castlevania maybe, like you see like Trevor Belmont, it has like, Whip at his side, but he's an absolute loser. Like he's like drunk and he doesn't know what's going on, and you can tell from his character design that he really just doesn't care. But like later on, as we move throughout the story, season 4, like he's a completely different person. So I'm not sure if that answers your question, but that's my thoughts on it.
Yeah, what about the cartooning? Adam, do you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. Because I have, I guess 2 things I would say about character design. One is that, I'm currently taking a character design class taught by Shin, who was in the presentation there, and it just really helps to remember some, fundamentals of, I don't know, shape language, like what the basic like shapes of your character are made of. Like circles suggest something different than squares do, and triangles are like very edgy and like kind of a standoffish shape. And you're looking at me and like, what is he talking about? I just think triangles are triangles. When you get character design brained, you're gonna see it everywhere. Trust me, it never goes away. But also about that, I would say silhouette's really important. Just make sure you know like the outline of your character. All the best characters have really recognizable silhouettes. And also overcomplicated doesn't necessarily mean that it's gonna be great. Like I feel like a lot of people might try to put a lot of details into their character designs because details will suggest things about the character, and you want to suggest things about the character, but especially if you're doing animation, I know this is for comics, but even for comics, you're going to be drawing that character a lot. Do you really want to draw like all of their like necklaces and bracelets and like all of the robotic details on their legs? Like really consider that. Try to simplify it down to like the bare essentials of that character. And just also in closing, sometimes I feel like a lot of pressure to try and make designs that are super original, like things that really stand out. And don't feel ashamed to like wear your influences on your sleeve sometimes is what I will say to that. Like some of my favorite character designs I've done are like, oh yeah, this is just a combination of like that one guy from the Emulate graphic novels and like, I don't know, Optimus Prime. Like do whatever you want. No one's going to stop you.
Sometimes you'll feel like, oh no, everybody can tell that I'm just ripping off this thing and that thing and putting them together. It's like the putting them together is your work. That's what you're bringing to the table. That's what all art has been always, is other people putting their influences together. They probably felt bad about it too, so don't. But what everything that Adam said, especially like keeping it simple, and I had something else. I think this is like kind of more on process in general, but it's definitely something that relates to character design, because I see a lot of people like putting a lot of work into like, you know, like deliberately planning, making Pinterest boards to like try to like, and for me, my character design process is like, there's a guy in my head and I want to put them onto paper. I don't think about it that much. So this is to say that if you have a process that works for you and you think, oh, but like maybe I'm doing it wrong. If it works for you, you're doing it right. And that is one of the biggest things that I'm learning at SVA in general is like, especially for comics, there is no one right way to do it. And learning other people's methods helps you develop your own, but you really have to pick and choose what works for you. And I think that applies to character design as well.
Something Alex Crocus said very quickly. He was talking about his process and he mentioned that he consciously took out all the parts of his process that he didn't like so that he would just constantly have fun doing it. And I honestly think that's good advice, like in general. If you want to just have fun with your art, take out all the parts you don't like. Well, but then you do have to learn, you know, maybe if there are areas you need to improve in, like focus on those too. But I'm just saying.
You learn to like them, you know, especially if like, let's say you're bad at drawing hands and you practice a lot. And when you start getting good at something, it feels good to get good at something. And you're like, I used to hate drawing hands, but then I got like really good at it. And now I just like feel cool and awesome every time I draw a really good hand. Like that's a great feeling. So you should work on things that challenge you because it becomes fun.
Yes, and the one thing I wanted to add, like similar to what you were saying, Sid, it was like just don't be afraid to sketch. Like you gotta like one of the advice that Victor said, create more than you consume. Cause like I used to be a very big perfectionist going into applying for this school. It's like, oh, I'm not gonna include that. They're not gonna like that. It's unfinished. I sent unfinished work, and guess what? I got in. So it's like sometimes more so. Yeah, don't be afraid to put yourself out there. And there's one other thing I wanted to add in related to sort of character design, since like after this event, I have to do character design homework. It's like two things. It's like, yeah, it's fun to research. Like I'm mixing like witches and familiars with reimagined disability devices. It's like random and like you don't necessarily see it. So like maybe create stuff that people have not seen before. That's one thing to guarantee it may be not as generic. And then another thing is like sort of like just as detailed as your bedroom is, like how it feels lived in, sort of like try to make your characters feel real, not in a realistic sense, but just that, wow, I could see this person personally. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. Is it working? Can you hear me? Thank you so much. I'm going to take a question from this side.
Hi, my name's Jeff. I'm a parent. I know that I've heard that all the teachers are professionals, and how does interacting with the professors work? Like, do you get enough like office hours, or is it tough for somebody who's needs a lot more guidance?
I think so. Yeah, I think I really appreciate that all our teachers are working professionals, because they give you a really good glimpse of what it's like to be working and then also be teaching on the side, because that's the future for a lot of artists. Is artists is a gig economy a lot of the time. But I think, like other parts of the school, it's like if you go out of your way to talk to your professors, they are incredibly receptive. I've already got great working relationships with a lot of my teachers, especially in the comics department. They're like really chill, because cartoonists are all pretty nerdy and laid back people. So and if you do have a professor that you're not crazy about, I've had good experiences in like switching out of classes, and like that is a thing. To mention is it's very good to like be proactive and deliberate when choosing your professors, and looking at their work, listening to like maybe your upperclassman, maybe someone who's like had their class, and it's like, well, I love their art, but their teaching style doesn't really mesh with me, or their teaching style is this or another, and your learning style might be different than your peers. So kind of contrasting that and keeping that in mind while you're choosing your professors is great. But I would say in terms of like office hours and like being in contact with your teachers, I've had pretty good track record with that. Yeah.
I think there's also some other departments within the school that can provide help and assistance outside of your teachers, because your teachers have their own expertise. But we have student counseling and student disability services that are available to all students. We have the writing center for students who might need some help with the writing homework. There's many ways to get extra help if you need it.
Yeah, and on that matter, I wanted to add that if you're like really struggling with schoolwork and your own mental health, like you can always talk to like student health and counseling, and I think they'll make it so that you have like extra time on the assignments. So like they're really like understanding in that manner. And as for professors, like I think if you express to them that you have like little to no time, or like you're really like struggling and you need more help, I think they obviously like won't turn you away, and they're like available through email outside of hours, and you can even like stay back like after class for a little bit to talk to them. So yeah, they're really understanding in that manner. And what comes with like industry experience is connections, and I want to be an art director in the future, and my professor, he believes that I can do it. So he actually did end up like reaching out to one of his connections in the industry, who is an art director, to ask about like how to become an art director. And someone actually got back to him, and he told me that, and I've been kind of following that as a Bible. So having professors who are in the industry can actually it helps a lot, especially with your own self-confidence and just in general, like knowing things and knowing how things work in the industry.
Yes, it's like just don't be afraid to ask your teachers about their profession, because they really do love talking about their journey. And to also add about the question regarding extra help, I feel like the professors are really receptive to it. It's like whether it's on a smaller scale, like, hey, can you look at my piece before like the main crit at the end of the week? I'm not sure if I did this right. They'll get back to you like within like a few days, via email. Or also, let's say if you're having overall trouble, it's always good to speak up before it becomes sort of like a trend. And basically, they help you make a plan. Like if there isn't a door, they'll help you find a window. And like also, they make sure to pay more attention to you so you don't lag behind with the rest of the class.
I've had teachers who are, I would say, stern but fair, and other teachers who are very chill. And I think, you know, a lot in between. And I think all those approaches, they really do work because at the end of the day, professors here want to see you succeed and they want to see you do your best work. And if you don't say anything to them, they can't help you. Because I feel like a lot of students, when they are confronted with a problem, they say nothing to the teachers and they're just kind of suffering alone. And when I say a lot of students, I mean guilty. You know, that's happened, but so that's why it's always really good to speak up because the teachers do want to help you. And if you can plan with them, they'll give you extra time. They will help you out even if you are like really freaking out and like, oh, I have to do this assignment and that assignment and this club thing. Like I finished my junior thesis late because I was really stressed for time and I asked for an extension and I got one. And if I hadn't asked for an extension and just been like, oh, I'll just keep going, I'll finish at the deadline, you would not see this on this stage. It would be all black and white, which, I mean, I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, but looks pretty good.
Oh, one more thing I wanted to add is that also, if you may not be the person to directly want to communicate with your professor, you could also utilize your academic advisor that could help you communicate with your teachers if you're a bit more shy and are unable to bring it up, you know, when the time comes.
There you go. Thank you. We're going to take one last question before we break for lunch. I'm going to take it from this side, if that's okay. I did also want to mention that your groups are going to have student ambassadors with you so that there is going to be an opportunity to continue to ask questions from current students. And then when you go to the department, there's also opportunities to ask questions there. So don't feel like your question is going to be missed. There's going to be opportunities along the way. So one last question, and then we'll break for lunch.
Also, I'm sure if I'm speaking for the four of us here, like if you see us on your way out and you have any other questions, feel free to come up to us.
Please.
We'd be happy to help you.
Hello, my name is Justine. Oh wow. I have questions about like the academics and stuff. So if you could you give me like pros and cons of your majors, as well as like how does it work having art classes and like more academic or regular classes?
Yeah.
I can go first. I am a humanities enjoyer. I'm in my senior year now, and I feel like I think half of my courses are humanities by choice. And yeah, I think cons. Can I say this? In our freshman year, we didn't have a cartooning class. It was just like art fundamentals. And for me at the time, I was like, oh, this is really frustrating because like I already I went to an arts high school. Like I spent an extra year working on my portfolio. Like, I want to go and like do comics already. But in hindsight, I'm like super, super glad for that because there, you have your art histories and whatever. And then after that, you can go into more specialized humanities courses, which we also have so many of that are like so fascinating, and I wish I could just like stay an extra 4 years and take all of. And in terms of first year, I don't know if it's like this, but like if there's like the normal like literature, English, whatever class, and if you excel in that your first semester, you can switch into a specialized course for your second semester, which I highly recommend doing if you get the opportunity. And yeah, for art classes. I'm sorry, I lost the plot.
How closely tied would you say your process is with writing? Because I know that the humanities courses require a lot of writing.
That's true. I love writing. It's one of my favorite parts of comics. So I think that like in every course where you learn something, this is just how learning works. Like you get more content that you can make into art. So that's where I'm coming from with it. Yeah. I think it definitely depends on personal preference to like balance how much of each you want, and definitely as you go up in the years and like you get more electives, deliberately choosing what do you want to work on. For example, like I'm taking by choice life drawing classes both semesters because I'm like I want to get all the technical drawing skills I can cram in before I graduate. So and every teacher does have a different teaching style. So definitely like in the first few weeks of class, seeing if it meshes with you, seeing if like this is going to be helpful for you, keeping an eye out for that, because you can switch out of classes for I think a week or two. And so don't feel trapped into something. Please make the most out of your time here.
So as a comics major, the pros of my major is that you get to make a lot of comics. The cons of my major is that you get to make a lot of comics. What do I mean by that? Well, making comics is fun, but when you're making comics, you have to wear a lot of hats. Just by making comics, you're doing a lot of writing. You're doing a lot of conceptualizing, a lot of drawing, pencils, inks, colors, because there are teachers who will make you do it traditionally. You'll have to learn how to letter traditionally, depending on the teacher that you have. And you should know how to do it. But it is a lot to keep track of. And then you have humanities classes on top of that, which make you do essays and make you do readings. And at a certain point, you might get to be like, how did I get here? How am I having to read about like third wave feminism and do my adaptation of Waiting for Godot in like 3 pages, and I have to do like 20 panels on each page, and it's like, well, have fun. And that sounds like I'm just saying, I don't know, good luck, but really do have fun, because it is fun. There's a lot to enjoy.
I literally, in my sophomore year, I literally did an adaptation of Waiting for like a 5-page, but it was Boys Love Waiting for Godot. It was Yaoi Waiting for Godot.
That
play is gay as hell.
I didn't know this. I didn't know this. That wasn't planned. I swear to God.
So do have fun with it.
Yeah,
It's
no,
literally.
you like make every assignment, like bend it to your will, is what I will say. If it isn't fun for you, make it fun for you. Like in my freshman year, I didn't have a comics class. So you know what I did? In my like visual computing class, which is just learning how to use Photoshop and InDesign and Illustrator, oh, you have to do a final where you take things you learned from the class, I make it a comic for it. No one can stop me. They can't stop you. So just make it fun for you and choose classes that you know you're going to have fun with. Like in my first semester of my junior year, you know my humanity classes were astronomy and video game history. I'm not making that up. I love astronomy. I love video games. It was an absolute blast to go to those classes, and I learned a lot. Like, I learned a lot about video game history. It was really cool. So you are in total control of the classes you take. You are in control of the experience that you have. Sometimes it might not seem like it, but you really are. And you can give yourself a very fun experience at the school with regards to academics and with regards to art. It's up to you.
The humanities teachers are also working professionals often. And so just like you would be researching which professor you'd want for principles of cartooning, principles of comics, you can be researching who is going to be your art history professor, who is going to be a storytelling professor, something like that. So really like putting in the work before you register can really have a big impact on how you balance everything. Yeah, that's what I would have to say.
Okay, I just want to add, I love Waiting for Godot. So I'm like, okay, basically, just to quickly add regarding and related to studies at SVA, like particularly for me for the honors program, is like we had shorter classes, but we had like, instead of like 2 or 3, we had like 4. And cool friends, cool convos, fun trips. We have our own library and free printing, but it's a lot of reading. But what I used to do for the reading is like, there's pros and cons, and then there's fun. And like in the same way, it's like when I would like read the reading, like for me, I would make it fun. Like since I'm a debater, bro, I would like write questions ahead of time that I know would rile up and cause like a ruckus in the class. But it used to be some of like the funnest things because you would get to hear people's real opinions. So it's like, yeah. So basically just make it fun if it's a challenge, sort of like that. We're artists. We're very creative, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and I'd like to add, like, you know, for the pros and cons of, like, the academic part of it, because you're required to take, I think, like, 2 humanities every semester with 3 studio classes. I think a con is that especially if you have a very intensive, like, humanity class, maybe you don't care for it too much, it can get really, like, hard on yourself, and maybe the course load can also become too much, especially if you want to maintain a GPA or grade, like, even for that class. But, like, a pro is that, you know, since from from sophomore year, you get to choose the classes you want, and it's up to you. Like, hey, I'm really interested in this. I want to learn more about this, and I don't mind if the course load is too much for like this humanities class, or like maybe you want to focus more on like the art aspect of it. So you can choose like a professor who's more chill with their course load, and still get the GPA you want. So I think that's really the pro and con of how like humanities and academics like relate to each other.
I have a question for you guys to kind of showcase what you can do at SVA. What are your favorite electives you've had so far?
I did just shout out astronomy and video game history, so you kind of know my answer. But I also had a webcomics course. That was a lot of fun.
So I'm a junior, and I have a Blender class this year. As an illustration student, you don't just like get to do like just illustration related courses. You get to do like 3D, and if you wanted to while still being in illustration, you can choose like courses from like other majors. Like there's a 2-semester course for like Maya you can take from like the 3D department while still being in illustration. So that's really cool stuff. But I think for this semester, my favorite elective has to be my Blender class and I think it's for Cinema 4D?
Yes, Cinema 4D. 3D looks
so fun. Yeah. It's like all illustration, but it's 3D is so fun. Just implement it into your workflow.
Yeah, like with SVA, you'll definitely be able to do multidisciplinary stuff, like woodworking in freshman year, cool stuff. But the thing about my favorite elective, we both had the same Blender class, but for me, what was I going to say? My favorite elective is probably, what you call it? Elective? A perspective class. Yes, for my last year, and it's like, wow, I could actually master perspective. I could just draw the world now without like having like struggles, and like learning composition and all that cool stuff really added and how to do perspective properly really added to my pieces. So
yeah, I was actually in that perspective class, and it's taught by Simona, and she is actually a set designer, and she's worked on some Wes Anderson films, so she's really cool.
One last thing. Shout outs to Mark Newgarden's About Comics class. Also my favorite electives. You learn a lot about comics in About Comics.
For the record, mine are last year I had Art of Death, which is awesome. This year, and screen printing, also awesome. I encourage take the technical doing stuff classes that are completely out of your major. Learn things here. And then this year I'm taking risograph printing, again, make things, and Japanese literature and erotic literature are my 2 humanities. There's so much stuff here. Do it.
Yeah, and on that note, because you bought a risograph for the illustration and comics department, we have whole risograph machine in the labs that you can use. No need to pay for it. You already pay for it in your tuition, so it's only for comics and illustration students. So that's available to use. Yeah.
It's really rare, and it's that's really big privilege of being a part of the college. So
yeah, you don't even need to take a class for it. You can just come in and be like, hey, I want to learn this, and then they'll show you how to use it, and then you can start printing on Riso even if you don't have a class on it. Just try things out here and there. It's amazing.
Thank you. I think we're gonna wrap up.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you
for coming.
Thank you, Kelsey. Cool. Thank you to our panelists. Everyone, please stay seated. We will start going out into the lobby by groups for lunch. But before we do that, my student ambassadors will be coming to the rows to reintroduce themselves to you all. So we'll be having lunch here for a bit, and then we will get you on campus tours to see the Riso Lab and all of the other great facilities. Also, to the live stream audience, thank you for joining us. Thanks, everybody.